The entire reason I invited you in the first place is because I wanted to be on the podcast. So I'm not going to lie about that.
I mean, I've started to get the name as podcast guy, which I'm so glad. Like, I really wanted that.
I watched Creeper R-Man on the day it was released.
What came first, the skin or the mask? If the podcast gets big enough, we might get invited to the Minecraft premiere. And then so me, her, and Paterpai were all kind of just sitting there. And then Kraken T comes out of nowhere. And then just one time I was like, yo, Pickles, I'm Orbitzz, give him a handshake and fucked off. I didn't realize it was with Dong Fortnite.
But the big thing that happened was the Dream speedrunning controversy. This was massive. All the Dream fans were angry at me because they thought I was talking smack on Dream. And all the Dream haters thought I was talking good on Dream.
Do you think the idea of MCC channels is going to become a bit oversaturated?
So this is kind of an official announcement because I haven't posted it publicly anywhere.
Alright lads, welcome to the first ever edition of MidweekMC. This is the part of the podcast where I sit down with a very special co-host as we waffle away about things that happen in Minecraft this week, Minecraft topics in general if nothing really happened, or just general topics which you'll see in future podcasts what that's referring to. But today is a different kind of format because it's the first edition of MidweekMC, and even if you don't really know anything about me per se, you've listened to enough podcasts to kind of maybe hear stuff about me or just make out what I'm like. However, you've never really been introduced to the co-host. So that's what this is going to be today. It's kind of just going to be a normal interviewing podcast, but labeled as MidweekMC because it's referring to that. One thing as well, before I do introduce this amazing person. I mean, you know who it is anyways, because the title was announced on Twitter if you follow that. MidweekMC is a bit of a upload-wise and recording-wise is a bit of a weird concept because I recorded the 4NT podcast 2 days ago. However, this podcast is coming out 2 days before the 4NT one because I record on the interviewing ones. I record on a Monday and upload the Friday afterwards, whereas MidweekMC is going to be recording on Wednesdays and uploading on Wednesdays. So I actually talk about MidweekMC on the 4NT one and say something along the lines of, I hope I don't spoil that podcast. So yeah, just so in case you guys ever hear something you're like, that's weird, it's because the interviewing ones are always recorded before these ones. It's strange, but it is what it is. Anyways, I know I kind of waffled away in the intro there, but it's the first edition. Obviously next week's intro will be a little bit shorter, but today I am joined with the very amazing, and who will hopefully be here every single week. If they're not, it's completely fine, CaptainAJX.
Yo, what's up?
How are you today, Captain?
What an introduction. I'm good, thank you very much. Yes, very good. I'm very glad to be here, and I'm very excited about what we're doing on this channel for the future.
So, obviously, I've been really excited to kickstart MidweekMC. Obviously excited about talking to you and recording the first episode, but not crazy excited about this one compared to future ones because, I know you. I know, we're such, I'd like to say we're good friends. You wouldn't have agreed to come on the podcast.
Yes.
But I know, pretty much everything I need to about you. So this isn't as exciting as, the podcast where we talk about a general topic, but I'm still very excited. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, of course.
So I must ask, and it's the first thing before we get into talking about you and learning more about you. What made you agree to come on as a co-host?
Oh, okay. You know that I've actually been. I'm quite an avid watcher of the podcast. I'm a big fan. I usually spend a day of the week out because I work at home or I work at the office, but I'm usually listening to something whilst I work on, and love when I get a new episode of the podcast pop off. But also, I'm a big fan of the Minecraft community and of Minecraft, so getting to talk about just everything that goes down, all the different events, different news and so on is just it's going to be a really big thing for me, and I'm very excited to do it alongside you.
Before we started recording, I'm not sure if I mentioned this previously. Every time I bring a guest on or just I talk to someone, I like to talk to them maybe about 20-30 minutes before the podcast, just have a little conversation, have a little sit down, mainly to run through how the podcast is going to work and let them know if they need to know anything, but just to kind of warm up our voices. And that's when I asked you, actually I should have really waited for the podcast, but I asked you what podcast you listen to, and I really didn't expect it to be that much. I'm actually quite surprised.
You just got a lot of interesting guests on. I think you're a pretty solid host, pretty good host. It's quite a nice way, because sometimes it's on a Friday, it's quite a nice way to end the week off.
Let's go, dubs.
Yeah.
to hopefully a lot of people's pleasant surprises, CaptainAJX was actually the second person I asked, and there's context behind this. So I think I said this on stream the other day, or I said it in someone's chat. In case people don't know this, I actually have like a bit of a team behind InsideMC now. I've kind of been doing it in private, building a team. I haven't really announced it until now, but I've actually I've built a team. Essentially, I have Roman Rodri, if you know her. She's very amazing. None of this is paid. None of the people who come on are paid, especially because I'm also not earning money from the podcast myself. So it'd be, I pay for like podcast thumbnails. I pay for like all that kind of stuff. But I'd be investing way too much if I paid for this. So essentially, I have the Aura Cat who makes my thumbnails, all the announcements, all that kind of jazz. That's what the Aura Cat does. Then I have Roman Rodri. She helps me with researching guests sometimes. So for like a long time, I wasn't really working while doing the podcast. I had a lot of free time on my hands. But now that I'm back at work, I do a little bit of research on people, but Roman helps me a lot with like finding stuff about them, and she's very, very good at it. We did a test run. So once I recorded the Fulham podcast, because I'd done research myself, I asked Roman to do a bit of research on Fulham, and they literally found every single topic we talked about, and the podcast hadn't come out, so it's great. So there's her, and now there's CaptainAJX as a co-host for MidweekMC. So I've got like a little bit of a team behind me now, which is kind of cool. I've never had this before. Obviously I pay the Aura Cat for the thumbnail design and stuff. None of that's free, but with the research and the co-host thing, maybe in the future, maybe down the line, who knows? But right now it's just a team. So
I'm doing this for free, everyone. That's what you gotta know. I'm here because I love the podcast.
Let's go. But yeah, so the context, which I didn't even provide. I was just talking. Roman was the first person I asked, obviously, because she's been helping with the podcast. But CaptainAJX was always gonna be second, 100%. It was only fair to ask Roman first, which I would have been happy if Roman said yes. Absolutely. But yeah, sorry. I'm really showing what MidweekMC is gonna be like. How we just waffle, how we just talk. It's gonna be great. But like I said, today is gonna be kind of introducing you, getting to know a bit about you, so we know who we're talking to, kind of thing, you know. Yes, all about moi, and I love talking about me, so I'm very excited to talk about me. I don't know how long this podcast is going to be. Future ones might be a little bit shorter, which isn't too bad. It's because mainly it's just going to be about one specific topic, so it'll probably be about 30-45 minutes. But CaptainAJX also likes to waffle, especially when it's about himself. So
definitely.
Before I get into asking you any questions, and sorry, I feel like I've really taken over here, but it's a new thing, so I just really wanted to promote it and talk about it.
No problem.
Before I get into asking questions about you, I always like to give, whenever I have a guest on, I always like to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves. Give us a little rundown of who you are, what you do, all that kind of jazz.
Okay, so I'm AJX, or CaptainAJX. It depends where you know me from. And I started off by being a YouTuber. I used to do MCC, basically. Everything to do about MCC. A lot of rundowns of the top 10 players for each event. A lot of rundowns for the top 10 players overall, based on averages and predictions and so on. And I grew my channel through that. And I've done a lot of other content elsewhere. Lots of TikToks, which I did with my friend Twiggy, who did all my TikToks for me, and he was amazing. And then
TikTok dances.
Oh, he did a lot of imagine I had like a few of my like mask person. So I bought how my persona's got this mask on. Well, I have an actual mask, and it's very high tech. So I did a few TikToks on them, and none of them did very well. So I scrapped them all. And then Twitch and so on, and basically that's where I've grown from. I'm known as one of the MCC guys. There's a lot of us, but that's basically who I am, what I've done in the past, and where I'm going. Basically, well, where I'm going is MidweekMC. Hell yeah!
Nice. Let's go. That's a very sick introduction. I do want to say, CaptainAJX, I can't remember our first introduction, but I believe you're... FaZe Ray was the first person I met in the community. He was essentially what got me into it. I'm always so thankful, so thankful towards FaZe for it. But I'm also stalling right now while I scroll up in our chat.
Well, I know actually.
You know how we first met?
No, I don't know how we properly first met, but I watched one of your podcasts. That was my first introduction to you. I watched the podcast. That's before I knew you.
Oh.
I think it was Shalom's.
Oh, okay. Oh, crap. Okay, yeah, I guess actually that don't even really surprise me, because like you said, you really are into Minecraft. Like, you are a big Minecraft fan. So that actually doesn't really shock me too much. What do you think?
I love this community a lot. So,
well, so how's your first introduction to me then?
Oh no, it was great. I think I think it was a good podcast, and yes.
Here we go. I messaged you on the 9th of May, 5 days after my birthday. I put, "Hi, bestie." You put, "Hey, that amount of mutual service is mad, by the way." I said, "We do be cooking." Oh, we had an idea. So you're able to talk about the idea more in DM. Oh, okay. I know, I remember. Okay, so we interacted on Twitter, and then you made a tweet about an MCC quiz league, but you didn't actually say what it was.
Oh, yeah.
You just announced you wanted to collab with people.
Yes.
So I replied saying I'd be down because we'd been interacting on Twitter. We knew who you were. We just hadn't interacted in DMs, and I knew you was a really, really cool guy, really interesting. And then we did that, and then that didn't end up happening, or it did, and I wasn't in it because I just didn't know about it.
No. I failed on that MCC quiz so many times. I got my moderator Aqua, who basically is the entire brains behind my channel, to make this like 60-question quiz. And originally I was going to have Sandwich Lord, Lockie, and someone else on to do this quiz, but because like it's hard to rearrange times with people, it just never happened. And then I was like, oh, I'll just do it separately with other people. But yeah, I'm bad at arranging that as well.
I mean, it would have never been me anyways, because I don't know enough about MCC. I mean, I've gotten really into it ever since our interaction MCC, but before that I wasn't really too involved with it. But then down the line, you asked me to, because you were on holiday, I believe it was, to help you record the MCC talking about top 10 individual stats coins.
It was my best friend's birthday.
Yes.
So I couldn't watch the event, so I got 10 of my friends to do it, and you're the final one, which is like
number one spot. This was for
it's my friend.
Scuffed. Was it for no? Because Kratzy came first. It would have been Pride.
Yes, it was Pride, which I was very sad about missing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. By the way, my bad.
Oh no problem. It was. Yeah, you were first, and I really liked that because you end with saying pieces, and I end all my videos saying peace. So like that was really cool for me.
Yeah,
like it didn't. Yeah.
No,
that worked super well.
One of the little things that people didn't really pick up on, that like I naturally say. I didn't just say it for you. Every single podcast.
You just say it anyway. Yeah.
So it was like it perfectly worked. Can I like, I guess once again I'm kind of delaying talking about you, but it's also just getting to know you and getting to know us, like our experiences, because obviously being a co-host we're going to be talking a lot about our interactions, stuff like that as well. This is essentially like, as much as interviewing AJX, this is also just a test run of like, not even a test run of just you guys kind of learning what the podcast is going to be like, how we just have a conversation, we're just having a conversation, but recording it and uploading it to YouTube and Spotify. Can I like, was it just because I can't imagine it was just because I said peace is the reason you put me last? Was there any planning behind it, or was it just that?
I think you had the best voice was one of them. The entire reason I invited you in the first place is because I wanted to be on the podcast. So I'm not going to lie about that.
Oh really?
Here I am. Oh yeah, it was networking. But like it worked, right? I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, you brought me on the thing, and I ended up inviting Debbie Morales on.
Oh no. Well, I like, it wasn't like direct, but it was to make sure that we knew each other better and so on.
Yeah, of course.
I think that definitely helped. It's all networking, right? So yeah, that was pretty. And yeah, I think you had the best, like, you have quite a deep tone and quite a nice announcement voice, I think.
Other than the fact that I lost my voice because I was ill.
You did lose your voice, but I think, honestly, you had sort of a gravel to it. It really did work out. I think it was really good.
That showed, like, proper commitment, by the way, because I could have just turned around and said, "Dude, I can't do it. I'm so sorry." Like, but I literally, I think it was like 2 days before the event, I told you I'd lost my voice. And I think I was like, oh, what was it? Because I made a whole meme of it. Like, I was on, it wasn't on track. I was like, oh, what's the word? Like, not predicted. What's the word for it when you're like when you're on track to do something? Do you know what I'm on about?
Oh, I do know what you're on about, but I can't think of the word. Committed?
Huh?
No, you just said committed. That's why I'm thinking of the word committed.
No. I am.
No.
Oh god, I'm trying to scroll up on our DMs again. Oh, here we go. So I put this. So I messaged you on the 11th. Said my voice has gone all croaky, and it legit has only happened since I messaged you, and you isn't budging. I'm down to still record, but for the quality of your video, of you want to get someone else, I'm completely found out. You said it's completely up to you. It's not like it'll be me, but I'd just still be honest to have you in the video. Which I mean, I can't maybe it's predicted. It's like when you're. Oh, it's gonna really bug me now. I'll probably end up thinking of the name. I guess
you'll wake up in the middle of the night.
I'll message you about it as well. I'll probably put in the description. I guess I was on track. I made a joke about being on track to lose my voice. Which happened.
Yes.
Which happened literally the day of MCC. I lost my voice, didn't end up streaming, and then the day after, I still committed. I said like my voice sounds horrible, but you know.
I think you're doing yourself a disservice. I think it sounded amazing. You and Rice just like have such amazing voices. I mean, I now know like Chaos, who has the best voice from the Lion Llamas. Just a completely gifted at birth voice.
Yeah,
which is weird. Like talking about voice, it's like a good thing. My voice to me is way more high pitched than I actually am, and way more like expressive. So whenever I hear my voice, I'm like, oh god, I sound boring, which is a great thing to have if you're a YouTuber and have to listen back to your voice when editing it, because I make so many mistakes. So I think with that as well, it was just so great to have so many of my friends on, and especially because I think at that point I decided I was running up the clock, like I was coming to the end of my channel being MCC related.
we'll get into talking about.
We will do, yes.
I guess back on track. I'm gonna be real. I never admit to this. We did pause the podcast because I was trying to find the bloody word and I can't find it. So this might not link perfectly to what we're talking about because it's been paused for like 5 minutes while I try and think. Which I mean, it's literally just dead silence. Both of us googling it. So nothing that you missed out on. But quickly, one last thing. Keep saying one last thing. More about what was it? Before what you said we were talking about? About me losing my voice with the whole connecting thing and stuff like that. So I was committed to it, so I wanted to do it. And I know you said who was it you said has a really nice voice?
Rice as well.
Rice in real time.
Who was also on the video? Rice in real time. Rice. I was saying Chaos.
Oh, Chaos.
That's like the best voice ever.
Yeah, you said they were on the Lime Llamas, right? They were. There was that person.
Yeah, they were on the Lime.
Oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, no, I was very honoured to be in that video. Sorry, this part of the podcast is gonna be like so scuffed, by the way, just because I kind of forgot what we were talking about. But midweek MC, we can get away with this, AJX, all right?
Oh yeah, we're just vibing.
But yeah, so I was So yeah, like I was really honoured, and honestly, it makes sense as to why you did that as well. With the whole like, not I know it wasn't the only reason bringing me on to get on the podcast, but like you said, it worked. Obviously, we've been talking a lot since. I really like your vibes.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about it now. I would admit it at the time, but I don't feel bad about it now because we're friends. Like,
yeah, no, it's different. If you'd turned around and like said to me like, oh, you know, now that I've brought you on this, can I come on the podcast? Then I don't think we would have talked much anymore.
Oh
not
yeah, no,
like, I'm not like an egotistical like dickhead. It's just I'm not really one of those
rude.
people. And it's just a bit like, oh, I've just done it. Like, I mean, it's just like, oh yeah,
that's why I didn't. That's why I didn't say it.
But yeah,
well, it wasn't entirely.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, but I mean, I said this on the Anfos podcast, which hasn't come out at recording this, but would be out by the time this podcast comes out. We were talking about like how they get connection and stuff, and one of the things I said was like, the thing is like, when I used to feel bad about inviting people on the podcast, or like scared. The thing is, if I invite someone on and they agree to coming on, like, they know what they're getting into. They know I'm going to be interviewing them. They know that I'm rolling the entire podcast for them. They know I'm going to promote it using their name to get a promotion. Like, they know that's what it's about. It's a bit like with you inviting me on. I knew that you were inviting me on. I knew you were going to use my name. I knew you was going to promote that I was doing the last one. I knew I was going to be in the description, all that kind of chat. So I knew what I was getting into, but I agreed to do it anyways. Yeah. But like, I mean, it works. It's like you know, I sometimes I wouldn't say I invite people on the podcast to get benefits out of it, but it's also like, you know, inviting them on the podcast gets me known, just like how getting me coming on your thing. I mean, even though I did ask to come on, me coming on your thing kind of made me aware of you more, and then we started talking more.
It's all it's all networking in a way. Like even as it's friendship networking, right?
Yeah, exactly. Making connections.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what this scene is all about, especially YouTube. And a lot of people that could be a podcast, I reckon, one day as well. Like how we talked about topics, that could be a good topic for a podcast. Is networking. Because I'd like to say I've gotten really good at it with the podcast now. So
it's entirely the reason I decided I wanted to do YouTube. Is because I wanted more connections.
Exactly. I mean, by the way,
friends.
last thing,
I just wanted more friends, which is sad.
I mean, that's not a bad thing though. It's like my mum's like doing her own thing right now, so she's also kind of began to realize that like it's a lot easier to make friends online than in person, because friends online you only get into communities who share your same thing. Like I've started to get the name as podcast guy, which I'm so glad. Like I really wanted that, because if people start referring to me as the podcast dude, that's good. That's a good thing. I'm always known as the podcast guy, which is great, and I want to be known as that. But it's like so much easier to like you know, me and you both like Minecraft, we both like MCC. Most of the people you're friends with like MCC, and that's how you met them. I met my MCC Rising group through MCC, all that kind of jazz. So it's like it's a lot easier to make friends online than it is in person. Like I don't think any of my IRL friends are like, even though there's not really too many of them, play Minecraft. Oh, you know, they did back in COVID for like a week, but that was it.
Same, exact same.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's so nice being part of this community, and that's the thing I treasure the most out of everything I've done. So
yeah. By the way, thinking back on it, I literally just think that the thing was I was just on track to lose my voice. I think that was a joke I made. I don't think that was a joke. I just want to get that away.
5 minutes.
I know. Alright, but also, okay, the podcast won't be this long because of the big cut. We've been recording for 26 minutes, and we haven't even got into talking about you. We've just been talking about how we met. Oh no. I guess then moving on, AJX, officially moving into you a little bit more. Actually, I guess talking about how we met was a good thing, because you're going to be the co-host, so...
Yeah, that's it's quite a good way to introduce it to the world.
I also don't really need to worry too much about formatting this podcast, because there's not going to be highlights. I'm not making highlights on midweekMC. I feel like that'd be too much stress on me. So
we're riffing, isn't it?
Exactly. So, CaptainAJX, you said I'd enjoy this story, so I'm looking forward to hearing it. Where did the name CaptainAJX come from? Why?
So, well, let me explain twofold. Because firstly, obviously I'm called AJX a lot of places. And so AJX is my initials. That's it, which a lot of people find a big shock, right? Because of the old X. But yeah, AJX is just my initials. That's the entirety of the background on why I decided that name. It works. It works super well, but yeah, I'm really big fan of the fact people are like, your name can't be AJ, it can't be X last name. The Captain. So the Captain actually comes from every single YouTube channel I've had up until AJX was called Captain something. So I had loads of channels in the past. And every time it was Captain something. And my Minecraft username was Captain, and then my actual first name, which is out there, so I'll say is Alex. That it was, so yeah, it was always been something, Captain something, and then something else, then my name, sorry. So it's always been that. So I was struggling to find, like, originally it was AJX Media, but I decided that was a bit too corporate to have all my channels be called that weren't like the actual YouTube, because I couldn't have the username AJX as it was too short already taken. So eventually I just went into the way of naming it CaptainAJX instead. So that my Twitch is called that. Pretty much everywhere, except weirdly TikTok, where I think I'm still AJX Media.
Oh. Projected, by the way. Projected to lose my voice.
Projected. There you go.
Oh my god, my neck was starting to hurt with stress. I'm so sorry. Okay, anyways, carrying on. Wait, so your last name is actually X?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing J is your middle name. Like the letter J is the start of your middle name.
Yes,
not
it is.
J is.
But I quite like my middle name, so like on my Facebook, I do actually put my first name and middle name and then last name.
Try not to dox yourself too much, jeez.
I'm not doxing myself. No one's gonna find it.
I mean, you also said your real name is Alex, so. Alex,
good luck to them.
Right? Okay, I did hear that right.
Yeah. That's what it is.
That's cool. I honestly thought the Captain part would have come from Captain Sparkles. I'm a bit raw.
No, I did. Despite, so obviously, if people didn't know, I'm quite old. People are shocked. No. So I'm 24. So I've known about Captain Sparkles since
back
it
in
came
the
out. I watched Creeper Oh Man on the day it was released.
Jeez, okay. You are like you're like ancient at this point.
Yeah, what did it I think it was come from Captain America.
Well,
like that's probably where I can that's probably where I can put it for fire.
So what were
I can't like
oh sorry, Karen.
I can't like say my old names because then I will actually be doxing myself.
Never mind, then I won't ask what your old names were. I was about to ask.
Well, I was gonna say like a lot. The first name was
podcast,
Captain from Captain America, and then a certain word from a television show.
Okay.
This isn't the word, but let's say like Bazinga.
Captain Riverdale.
Like it was Captain. No, Riverdale was way after I'd made my name. We're talking. I was 12 when I made this. Well, 13. YouTube. I was 13 when I made this name. So it was way back when, and I was still a child. So I was like, "Yeah, this is going to be a cool name, Captain Bazinga." It was not Bazinga, by the way.
Yeah,
so
we're just
you
using
can't
it as
find
reference.
it.
Fair enough. I mean, see, this is just proof that you do listen to the podcast because you instantly knew I was going to ask what were your past names.
Yes, I was ready for it.
But they had Captain. They all had Captain in them.
Yes, yeah, they've all had Captain. Bar the time I was called the Diamond King. I was called the Diamond King for like a week.
And I just took a sip of drink when you said that. I nearly choked on it. Well, I've taken from We Choke on Milk and started calling you Captain because I was originally calling you AJX, and then I never really just thought of saying it until I heard Milk saying it. I was like, actually, that sounds like a lot cleaner calling you Captain.
Yeah, a lot of people. Well, it's Twiggy calls me my captain.
I'm calling you that. I'm just calling you Captain. That works.
Yeah. Well, no, that's basically Twiggy really reinforced the captain part. Like before, no one called me it. Twiggy just kept calling me my captain, and now a bunch of people do it. So.
Honestly, that's fair enough. What about the idea for the skin then?
Oh, okay.
I know you have the mask, so I want. Actually, before you talk about the idea for the skin, I just want to know. You just give me a one-word answer here before we carry on. What came first, the skin or the mask?
The mask.
Okay, now let's talk about where the skin came from. Oh, actually, no. Let's talk about the mask. Where did you get the mask from? And like,
okay, so I knew I never wanted to show my face. Right, I'm very private.
Yep.
I've already had someone try and track me down.
Fun, don't worry.
Via me being big on YouTube.
Happens to the best of us.
A lot of it's like protection of my family and protection of my mum, who never wants to be like. Imagine being like, well, you've seen what happens to poor Tommy and its mum. The amount of stick she gets is absolutely awful, and I hate it. Especially because I've known for a long time what that family went through. So
I went to the Tommy Innit show, so I very much heard about it.
Yeah, my uncle is friends with Tommy's mum and my sort of uncle, Tommy's mum and dad. So
that's a cool connection, I guess.
He was doing their library when he was doing like our kitchen, and he was like, "Oh, you do this MCC thing? Do you know Tommy?" And I was like, "Of course I know Tommy." That was, and then he said about all the awful stuff that had been happening.
Which I mean, he's only mentioned at the show, so we won't talk about.
Yeah.
We never mentioned it, so I don't want to get into it too much, anyways. But yeah, so sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just suddenly gonna waffle away.
No, I wasn't. I knew I wanted a mask, and I didn't want to be Dream. So originally I was looking at a Shy Guy mask, and then I was like, "Oh, it's fine. Let's try and up it a bit," because I was becoming a bit bigger. And I found it's a really cool like mask, light up mask. So it uses LEDs. And its mouth moves when you talk, and its eyes blink. And you can do loads of different stuff with it. Like I can do the pride flag with it. I can do so on and so forth. So my picture was Smager as me with the pride flag on it. I could like make it do different faces and so on. It is a super cool mask.
Everything I can just sounding proper.
I could just never use it because it gets way too steamed up when I wear it. It's this like DJ mask.
Voice, no? It muffles your voice as well, no?
Yeah, it slightly muffles my voice, unfortunately. Yeah, but otherwise, I think it was a very expensive investment. Bear in mind that I never use it, but I'll probably use it more the more big I get. So hopefully, in the future, we might see more of the mask. But that means for the skin, I was like, okay, I need to sort of become this persona. So I actually commissioned Violet, who is one of the 3D modelers for MCC, which is really cool. So Violet's actually made by Skin. And yeah, basically it was based on a few pictures of me I took on early with the mask, where I look a bit more creepy. And so that's pretty much where it's come from. I usually wear my entire brand was this black hoodie that says television killed your vision, and it's like gets worse. Yeah, it's Zerka. And then the mask, because so that was my entire thing for a bit. But you can't really write television killed your vision on a Minecraft skin, so that's why.
Do you have
it
a
is
white
what
line?
it
I
is.
can't remember. Do you have a white line on your hoodie in your Minecraft?
No.
It's just a black hoodie.
Yeah, it's just, well, it's actually kind of dark blue, which is now actually quite similar to what I have as my profile picture, so it works out well.
Works out perfectly, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
That's pretty sick, though. That's a fun fact. I mean, when you get famous from MidweekMC and we go to like, I mean, I'm gonna say it publicly. I mean, I probably will mention it in a future podcast as well, like when we talk about general topics. I made the joke with you about if the podcast gets big enough, we might get invited to the Minecraft premiere. I mean, speaking into what's the word? Wait, like
speaking into existence.
Yeah, but there's also like a thing, manifesting.
Oh yeah.
CaptainAJX. So when we go to the Minecraft premiere, that's when you can really wear the mask.
Oh yes, that would be so cool.
Because I only face revealed recently. There's like a bunch of highlights and stuff of me talking about not face revealing, but I face revealed when I went to TwitchCon, which was a big step out of my comfort zone. Very big step. But I knew I was meeting a bunch of people, and then I actually I made sure like to look really good on the day, because I wash my hair daily, but like my hair looks really nice, and I was like, like sometimes when I wash it overnight, it looks really bad in the morning. So I wasn't gonna wash it. And bearing in mind, the only reason I didn't bath in the morning is because I literally got the 6 a.m. train. I left my house at like 5 a.m. So I ain't waking up having a bath. So I wasn't gonna wash my hair the night before, and I said, oh fuck it, I'll do it. Why not? I washed my hair. I actually blow dried it so it looked better. Woke up the next morning and my hair looked amazing, and I thought, so blessed. I looked so like, I genuinely like, I'd like to say I looked so good that day compared to how I normally like look. So I was really confident. I was like, oh screw it, like we'll just upload the photo. So I uploaded the photo of me with like potato pie. I just felt kind of awkward taking pictures with people, and it was also just a case of like, I honestly thought I was gonna be in more group photos. I was only in one, which got posted, which that's the only photo that I don't look amazing in. But like, you know, I thought more group photos were going to be taken. I was like, I don't want to be the only guy who has their face covered, because I know like when people go to like VidCon and stuff, there's a bunch of them having their face covered, but everyone who I was meeting shows their face.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't want to be the only one. So I was like, I'll just face reveal, and then so on and so forth. And then that's it. Like I probably won't post another picture. I mean, I said it before, like if I post another picture of myself, I'll cover my face. It'll only be really at events or like when I meet up with content creators that I might not. But you know, we'll see how it goes. But I guess that's
that actually brings up a funny story. So I went to TwitchCon Amsterdam the year before.
Oh,
right.
Oh, yeah.
And I did a video, and because they don't allow like masks, which is understandable because it might look like something's going to go down. I couldn't like wear anything, so I just basically filmed a video, and it was all like cut out, made sure that my face wasn't in, and so on. It's a good video. But for that, I had no contact before. Like I had no one in the community I knew back then. So that actually like pushed me to be more open into the community and to try and do a lot more, you know, talking to people and so on. And that's pretty much how I like that push of not knowing anyone at TwitchCon was like the thing that made me so sociable nowadays, so more open to making connections, to networking with people. So that was a huge thing for me as well.
Well, I mean, sorry.
I could go to this TwitchCon because it was on the same time as the Silverstone Grand Prix. So
I mean, would you even meet up with anyone if you did? Because you don't really show your face to us. Like I've never seen your face.
So a few people know what I look like. All the strikers know what I look like. Debbie, obviously. And then my other best friend, Little Pictures, who is another streamer, sort of out like on the board of our community. So they're the only ones that know what my face looks like. I guess I would have to. I think I'd do it probably in a certain way where I'd like wear a face mask, and then like wear my actual mask as much as possible, if that makes sense.
I mean, it could literally just be a thing of like, I don't know. I mean, I saw what Wolfie looked like. I don't think Wolfie always in any picture. I think he just kind of just met with people and was like, yo, I'm Wolfie. Well, I mean, it's like kind of me. I kind of just showed up because I didn't face reveal until the morning of TwitchCon, so no one knew what I looked like. No one in the con had like service, or most of them didn't have service to see what I looked like. So I kind of just walked up. I was like, "Yo, I'm Orbitzz," and I was like, "Oh." Like, I remember like Space Brownies bumping into me, which is I don't know why I remember that mainly. Me and Space Brownies didn't actually interact that much there. I just remember like her kind of coming over and like bumping into me, going like, "Yo," I was like, "Oh my God, Space Brownies!" But like, I met up with everyone. I had a really funny interaction with Nukuri, which I talked about on the Nukuri podcast. If you remember, by any chance, or anyone who can go back and watch. But yeah, no, like TwitchCon was great. I'm glad because I got to go with Potato Pie 25, so I definitely had someone there. Like me and him hang out the entire day, while everyone else went out to get lunch or went to like certain stuff. While they were all like in the Rats SMP panel, we actually met up with Tubbo, and then when they all went out for dinner and stuff, or like we're sitting in a circle, we actually met up with Quackity. We met Quackity, which was really cool. There's a picture, my picture. Blake blew up on Twitter, and so did I think she's not a Twitch mod, she's a Twitch VIP X. I met up with someone called Small Chloe at the con. He's like one of my old Twitch mods. I didn't even know she was going, and we ended up meeting up there because like she DM'd me about it. I was like, oh, so she ended up hanging out with us because she didn't really have anyone. Like she met up with everyone else and stuff, but for the most part she didn't plan to go with anyone. And then so me, her, and Potato Pie were all kind of just sitting there. And then Quackity comes out of nowhere, and we're like, she like turns around, she goes, "Is that?" And we look, and she's like, "That's Quackity." It's like, oh my God! So while everyone's doing their own thing, we met up with him, which is great. And I said met up with, we met him, which is amazing. Cool. But like, I guess it's leading into like next TwitchCon. Like I went up to Jack Cass and I said hi, but we hadn't really interacted that much. It was like still and maybe he doesn't feel this way, but I just felt like it was a bit awkward. I bumped into Piggles. I said like, "Yo, Piggles," and that was really stupid. I walked up to him, gave him a handshake, and walked off. We talked about that on his podcast as well. And then just walked up and I was like, "Yo, Pickles, I'm Orbitzz," gave him a handshake and fucked off. I didn't realize he was with Don Fortnite. But like now next TwitchCon, because I'm more involved in the community, more known, like I'll have, and not I hate using the word fans, but like viewers. I'll have viewers of me who a lot of them on Twitter went to TwitchCon, but none of them knew who I was. But because of the podcast, I've very much established myself to the point now where people know me.
That's the exact thing. That's why I'd probably wear like a face mask underneath, like sunglasses or something, just to protect anything, just in case. Like I can trust my fans and my viewers, obviously, but you just got to be careful out there. It's always just and also just so it's just like hopefully I can just wear my mask and that's going to be great, but we'll have to see. If I hopefully it's in London this year.
Yes, please. It'd be so easy for me to get to as well. And I'm the plug for a good hotel. But it depends because if it's in London, I'm assuming it'll be at the XL. And if it's at the XL, there's like either a hotel that you can get, which is nice and cheap, but you have to get a train every morning, or there's like the expensive-ish hotels right outside the con. So it really just depends. But either way, like I'm hoping it is, because then like I think if it's in London, it'll be the perfect place for everybody to go, kind of thing. Yeah, I think so. Hopefully, but we'll find out. We'll find out soon. We'll see what happens. Yes. We are really just kind of talking here, which is nice. This is, like I said, it's also just a good run-ish for this prior to talking on the podcast, because we're just going to be having conversations. So MidweekMC is going to be very, very chill. Very, very chill. Yeah, exactly. I'm enjoying it. I guess moving back into talking about you. How did you get into Minecraft content? Okay, so I was doing YouTube not very well. Let's say that. I was doing basically gaming videos. They were edited, but they weren't great. My dear friend, actual real life friend, Sammy at that point was editing for me. And he made this was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So not long ago. Not very. Okay. No. Yeah. Well, I've been making I made Minecraft videos way back when I was 12. Let's be clear on that. But like, talking about you as CaptainAJX. Yeah, we're talking about AJX now. And then basically it was MCC 13, and I'd watched all the MCCs at this point. By the way, I've been literally watching since the start because I'm a big Jack Sucks at Life fan.
So I watched his one, and then I watched like Techno because I love Technoblade, and literally watched all of them. But the big thing that happened was the Dream speedrunning controversy. This was massive at that time. It was a very big topic on this single day, which was MCC 13 as well as the Streamer Award. So like everything was about Dream and this controversy and his reaction to this controversy. So I did a video at that point, sort of being like stuck in the middle, being like, okay, so Dream could have cheated. It doesn't really matter because they haven't like, this does seem like a witch hunt because they've done it on these important days. And also maybe he didn't cheat. But a lot of the stigmas around like all these fans also being like jumping on and Dream response and so on. And that video blew up. Now that video blew up for a few different reasons. Obviously it was popular at the time, that topic. But a huge part of it was because basically everyone disliked that video or liked it. It was for a while, it was a running meme because this was when you could see likes and dislikes, that they were trying to make it equal. Because all the Dream fans were angry at me because they thought I was talking smack on Dream, and all the Dream haters thought I was talking good on Dream. So basically everyone was very against this video, but everyone kind of agreed that I presented quite well. And so I wrote this script basically.
How many
it was
views
completely
did the video
off.
get, can I ask?
It is currently on 69,000.
Okay, so it did well. Okay, it did very well.
So it is my top video. It is my top video still.
Okay.
But in a day, and this was all thanks to my friend Sammy, who literally went, "You're passionate about this," because I basically talked to him about the topic, and he had no idea who these people were or what was happening. He was like, "Write it down and like put a video up," and I did. And yes, it was controversial, but I became big from it. I got like 500 subscribers, and then so I started doing Dream SMP analysis content. We're talking the type of content you see from Misty or Anna Magician, or back then Frostbite Freeman was a big inspiration to me. But I was sort of like, I'm not feeling this. And the fact was, I talked to Sammy on that day, and when it blown up, and went, I want to do MCC videos, but MCC is gone. Like it's on its break. And if you remember, the break between season 1 and season 2 was the biggest break we've ever had. It was like May when it came back. So I had to wait months and months making this Dream SMP content that I was sort of interested in, but it was a dwindling interest. And then I made my first MCC video, which was the top 10 players using their averages. And it didn't do very well to start off with. But then it started getting more and more views, more and more. And that is...
back, right?
Yeah, well, I'd done it tactically because I work in marketing. I'm a marketing manager. I know like tactics and how YouTube algorithm works. So I'd done it like the week before MCC was back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it got loads of views in that time, and that's now my second most viewed. I think it might be third now, but it was for a time my second most viewed. And then I was like, I love this, so I just kept chucking out more and more MCC content, and eventually started to make a name for myself. And we hit 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and now eventually 4,000 subscribers, all for MCC content. So much different ideas. Obviously, I tend to lean back on top 10 players for each event and top 10 of all time, but those are the ones that get massive amounts of views. But I've done like MCC Olympics. I've done a challenge where a bunch of creators had to make the most OP MCC teams they could. It was a contest. So yeah, it was a lot of spark of creativity for me, and I really some people know me as the MCC guy now, which I don't. There's still like Wolfie and even Lockie, I would say, is the MCC guy to me. But I've always like that's a big milestone for me, such as you being known as the podcast guy. That's huge for me.
It's pretty similar, yeah. I know, I love it because I mean, I think my thing is, and you can probably agree with this, is the reason I like being called the podcast guy is because if like, I guess it's like, I guess talking from a marketing aspect and talking back to earlier about connections and stuff like that, it's like if I'm known as the podcast guy, it's like, oh, like if I don't know, if like a content creator who comes on the podcast, I can't leak a future guest, but you know the guest I'm excited to come on if they end up coming.
Yes, yeah, I know the guest.
Right now they're scheduled in. Hopefully they still come on. But like with that, they actually know about the podcast through having the other guest on, who once again you probably know who I'm referring to, who has
Yes,
come on,
yep.
but I don't want to say their name, so I'll leak it. So like it's like that, because I was known as the podcast guy to them. You know, maybe they didn't say anything to get them on, but just having them on and being known as the podcast guy essentially spiraled into this person coming on. It's like I'm equally as happy to have like the original person on as I am the new person. I'm just like more just talking from an aspect of like, you know, or if I'm in MCC and someone goes, oh, like Orbitzz, the podcast guy, like people might be like, podcast guy, let me research. Like I like podcasts, the new podcast.
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of jazz, you know, it's just the little things. Like with MCC, like the big ones are all things MCC. There's MCC the show. I can't remember the one that Lockie worked on. I think it's MC Live.
MCC the show he does.
Okay,
no, he's
so
MCC the show.
Got you. And then so there's MCC Live Show, which is a newish one, I think.
MCC Live Show is my friend Dushapol, who like live streams when MCC's on. He does like, he cuts to different perspectives and so on.
Yeah, there we go. So like there's so many, but then being known as CaptainAJX the MCC guy, but not being linked to like a certain All Things MCC or that kind of stuff, like that's nice.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing, I think, because I know branding wise it would have been way easier for me to call myself AJX or AJX MCC or something like that.
MCC, yeah.
Because search engine optimization, it's just way better. So the fact I had to like push through just being called AJX to get these group of views, not that like MCC the show. Yeah.
I'm not complaining. I'm just talking. I was just joking. I was making.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say MCC the show and MCC all things MCC are just the pillars of the community, and that was actually a big. Lockie was like my second person I ever had on my channel. Otherwise, like last summer I had exponential growth because I started networking, and Lockie was the second person I had on, and just talking to Lockie, it was great. It definitely like upped what I wanted to do a lot more, and just anytime I talk to someone about MCC, it's always such a like pushes me forward. I want to be successful because of that.
I was gonna ask a question.
Inspired, that's what I was thinking.
You're doing great as well, like you really are. Like obviously that's how I kind of knew you as the MCC guy, especially when I was getting more into the community, and obviously getting more into the MCCI community, etc., led to me getting more into MCC, and then getting more into MCC. I met CaptainAJX, and obviously like something I'm so grateful for as well, because you are genuinely very amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Alongside that though, what exactly got you into MCC specifically? Because you kind of mentioned how, like the dream thing, but you didn't actually mention MC itself, like why you got so interested in it.
That's a good question.
I know it is. That's why I asked.
Yes. Well,
sorry, yeah, go on.
Well, I was going to say, so basically, I've been watching since the very get-go with Jack Sucks of Life. I had no idea what MCC was, but I used to watch Minecraft Monday. I've always, I never not stopped watching Minecraft. Even when it dipped down, I always was into Minecraft still. And a big part of that was Jack Sucks of Life. And Smager, weirdly, there was something called Harmony Hollow, which was like a modded SMP, basically. And Jack and Smager were a big part of that. So basically I was watching them for ages, and Techno, I should mention, and he was randomly in MCC, so I watched the first one because of that, and I was like, oh, that was a fun tournament, and then there was a break, and then Techno was in the second one, and I love Techno Blade so much, and I've been watching him since he was at like 50k, I think. I've been watching Jack since he was at like 10k, which was like in 2014, and I've been watching Techno since he was at like 50. And yeah, so I just love techno, and singing in NCC. The Sleepy Boys is always a big part for me. Was just amazing, and I was so into the tournament. And then what happened was the Dream stuff happened, right? The Dream controversy.
Yeah.
And I came across Shawgun, who does basically got the averages, which and put them on YouTube. So he just put down the averages of each player, and I was like, oh, I can just use these averages and talk about each player and their skills and what they're good at and so on. And that's basically where we got up to. That's how it started. And I as soon as I did my first MCC video, I was like, I want to do this. I don't want to do the Dream SMP stuff anymore. I just want to focus on MCC.
And that's exactly what you did. Fair enough. I mean, kind of back to what you were talking about with like the kind of inspiration for content and stuff. Like, I don't think I've mentioned this on a podcast before. I've definitely mentioned it on streams and like, I mean, maybe I have, who knows. The big thing for the podcast was, have you ever heard of Jack, mate?
Yes, of course, yeah.
So when I used to work at a warehouse, I don't actually know why I started listening, but I was getting kind of sick of just listening to music, constant music, every single shift. So I was like, I got to listen to something different. So I pulled up a podcast, and for some bizarre reason, I chose Jack May's podcast. So of all the choices, I mean, I listened to a bit of the What's Good podcast, but the Jack May one is just what got me. I don't really know why. So I started listening to it. I think I'm like 70 episodes deep. I'm gonna be dead honest, I haven't listened to it in a while. I ever since I actually left the warehouse, which was last May. I haven't listened to it every year, which I mean, I really need to. It's just, I mean, I could listen to it on my way to work. I probably will start, but like, work is only like a 30-minute journey, and I like listening to like podcasts and all. Anyway, so obviously I see him doing the podcast. I listen, and then one day I turned around and I said, like, I want to do this myself. Like, I absolutely love listening to this, and he's just waffling away. So like, if anyone has listened to the Jack May podcast or seen it, like, it's so obvious that my podcast is fully inspired from the dude. The new number change on the podcast, which is 036, 037, that kind of stuff, literally a carbon copy from his podcast. He does Happy Half Hour, which, I mean, he doesn't do it anymore, but back like when I was listening to the podcast, which wasn't actually when he started. I think it was like 150 episode deep when I started listening, but like around episode 70 he started Happy Half Hour, which was just like half an hour podcast, sometimes 45 minutes or whatever. It was just branded Happy Half Hour, talking about like other stuff. Like, I think one of the topics like mental health and stuff, which is, I mean, I remember one of the topics being about like family, which is exactly like the route that MidweekMC is going to follow. When I mentioned in the intro about like talking about general topics, it's going to be stuff like that. So that inspired MidweekMC. What else is there? There's also like just the idea of having guests on, the guest announcements, the brand new format, which started with the Anfos ones. It would have already been done. The brand new format of how like the guest podcasts are made on Twitter, like the podcast announcements are made on Twitter the new way. The recently brought back like pre-intro highlights. Literally everything is just inspired from the Jack May podcast, because I just absolutely love the podcast, and I said I want to be as good as this. The highlights obviously don't get as many views, and the only thing that is different between our podcasts is the fact that I upload them on YouTube. He only uploads them to Spotify. I upload them to both. That is the only difference. So, but yeah, but I can very much. Sorry,
he's the exclusive deal, doesn't he? So
yeah, but it's more just showing that I can fully relate to the idea of just being inspired by something. Yeah, like I said, I absolutely love the podcast. I mean, MidweekMC. I think the thing about MidweekMC as well is, like, as much as you're a co-host and it's absolutely amazing, it gives me more of a chance to talk as well. Like, MidweekMC introduces the idea of me being able to waffle, but like I am now. Like, I know this is a guest podcast, but it's still MidweekMC, so I can kind of waffle away more than I normally would on an interview podcast, because it's just a casual talk.
Exactly.
I guess on the topic of how you got into MCC, let's talk about why you're moving away from MCC. I mean, MCC on the main channel, we're going to talk about MCC Central as well. For anyone wondering, by the way, there's a lot more to AJX, but the main introduction is just kind of, you know, getting to know how me and AJX met and stuff like that, and then kind of getting to know more about AJX's content. Going like forward on podcasts, like one topic that we were going to talk about today, but we was like, the podcast is getting a little, not too long. It's just more that, you know, I got work tomorrow and AJX has to go do something, and we've kind of started the podcast a little bit later than usual. We didn't, I'm lying, but you know. So there's other stuff that obviously AJX has about them. One of them being asexual, how AJX is sexual. Another one being how AJX has DCD, which is, can you just say the name of what that acronym is, please?
Development Coordination Disorder.
There you go. And just a quick rundown of what it is, just so people don't hear and not know what it is.
So basically, stuff that I perceive is wrongly translated to my brain. So it means that, like, my writing is really badly and neat. I have a lot of like different things happening in my body, like running's harder, a bunch of stuff's harder, basically. And it's part of the neurodivergent sort of grouping.
But you're still an absolute legend, so.
Thank you.
But yeah, so they were things that we were going to talk about on this podcast, but remember how earlier, once again referring back to, I said that sometimes the topics are just going to be general. I guess a little bit of a leak. Don't know when it's going to be, but this, essentially talking about this LGBT, all that kind of jazz will be a future podcast topic, so you guys can listen out for that. So there's throughout the podcast, we're going to be talking about topics, and once again, because they're just going to be general conversations, we're going to just talk about ourselves as well. Like, say something in MCC happens, AJX might have a story about that regarding themselves. So slowly over midweek MCs, as long as you keep up to track with them, you're going to learn more about AJX. This is more just learning about the basis of them, kind of.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, so AJX, so you used to make MCC content on the main channel. That's where CaptainAJX came from. You became established with the MCC thing. I guess a bit of hypocrisy because you said about how you never really did the branding of MCC and stuff like that. MCC Central.
So MCC Central. So that wasn't my name, but like I think it's a great name because it works perfectly. As I said, in terms of algorithm, it's way better than AJX will ever be. So basically, we originally we got like 10 MCC. Well, it was actually about like 7 or 8. MCC YouTubers, and we were on the smaller side, so it's a bunch of smaller MCC YouTubers. We're talking Ripcord, MCC Live Show, a bunch of other ones, and we put ourselves in a group to basically talk about ideas, talk about like what sort of different video ideas we have, different content we're looking at going to, and well, like within a day, they decided to start a group channel. So it wasn't even me that came up with this idea. But for a long time, I've wanted to do something like this, a big group channel. And so I invited Aquadragon, who I said before does a lot of my background stuff, and I'm Twiggy, who's done all my shorts and so on, to also join in the channel. And then there's also Onish, who is a big part of like the new content I think should be made about MCC. I think Onish is just one of the best editors that are out there and does such amazing content for MCC that should get way more views. But basically, it's a bunch of us. We've started a group channel. It's all about MCC. We're trying to make it as good as possible. There's going to be loads of videos. There's still going to be my type of videos, except this time I'm not focusing on scripting anymore. I'm just going to sort of talk, which is exciting for me and means way less like time is going to be spent writing scripts. I honestly can write scripts for like 3-4 hours for videos. So yeah, that's really exciting, and I'm very excited about the new content we're making, and hopefully it goes well.
So how comes you stopped? Moved away from the main? How come you moved the content away from the main in the first place?
So yeah, that's actually a good question, because of course, MCC Central was a great last second thing. I was moving content anyway. I decided I was moving content. Originally, I was like, okay, I just won't do MCC content, or I'll put it on my second channel, or so on and so forth. So the fact that MCC Central came along has been great for me because I could just chuck it up on there. But the reason that I decided I wanted to stop doing it on the main channel is I've done a lot to do with MCC, and I also understand a lot about how the Minecraft community is going, how the MCC community is going. It's a lot less popular. There's a lot less room to grow than there was 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and that's not a bad thing. And obviously I hold the community very close to me, and like I'm not just all about growing, but for me it's just like, okay, let's do something different. I've been doing this for so long. I was feeling a bit like not lazy, not a bit disorientated about all the content I was doing about MCC. So it's sort of the best of both worlds. And I have a lot of good ideas of what I want to do in the future, because I think the channel can just continue to grow and continue to be a big part of a community and continue to like go forward, basically.
You didn't essentially want to limit CaptainAJX to only MCC anymore.
Yes, a big part of that was, I think it was, just I'd done so much MCC, and eventually, you can't really talk much about it. I mean, I am going to talk much about MCC, but I can't really continue to script. The scripting is honestly so long, and the audio editing that takes up a lot, like a huge majority of the time I put into videos. I would say I do per video about 2 to 3 hours of like scripting, and then audio editing about the same. maybe a bit less. So this is going to be like a huge time save, and that I can put into other content while still talking about something that I love in MCC. But I'm going to put a lot of that time into other content, a lot of it into making like huge new videos. That's just going to be like huge part of the channel, and hopefully does well. Otherwise, I'll just go back to MCC. Who knows?
I guess a good question then, regarding MCC content as a whole. I'm not going to say it is right now because, I mean, there's lots of channels based on lots of things. There's lots of news channels, there's lots of like podcasts and stuff like that. Do you think the idea of MCC channels is going to become a bit oversaturated?
Not like, now.
As in, like, you know, once again, all things MCC, MCC show, MCC live show, now MCC Central. Like, do you think it might become? Because obviously, you know, there's a fine line between it all. It depends on. I mean, I talked about this. Did you watch the Nebula podcast, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure if you remember, but I mean, I'll give the same advice to you. I'm not sure if Nebula and CPK will take it, but you should 100%. You can do so many other videos. I mean, what's the idea? I'm happy for you to talk about it if you remember the idea from my spreadsheet that you saw of video ideas.
Oh no, God.
It was something about MCC. I had it right. I wish I didn't delete it now. But like, I like just loads of MCC video ideas. I mentioned some on the Nebula podcast. Like, you can talk about, you know, how MCC came to be. You can talk about like MCC's future, all this kind of stuff. Like, the channels don't do this. That's what I've noticed. None of the channels ever talk about like stuff by MCC. They all just make content like, you know, top 10 plays, top 10 players, like, or like they just do like highlights and stats videos, whereas you can do the more like interesting topics like MCC Island and all that kind of stuff, you know? Yeah.
I would push you towards MCC Live Show, who did a great documentary about all the beginnings of MCC and how it came to be.
Okay, but is that just a
one-off in terms
video,
of or? No, they did a series. In terms of me, I am very comfortable within my ranking space, which will come on to with my the future of AJX. So for a while I was sort of conceiving a documentary all about MCC and so on. And there's been a few videos that I've made, like the 3-year anniversary of Dream S&P is all about the history of MCC and so on. But I don't have the voice for history videos or documentary style videos. I know I have the voice for top 10s, short, snappy, quick to the point, gets information over quickly, and that's what I want to do. And that's what I'm going to do with AJX for the future. I'm going to do a lot of different top 10s. We're going to be ranking a lot of different things, and that's exciting. But for MCC Central, it really just depends on who's making the videos and so on. So, for example, a few of the ideas they've come up with is, like, I can say this because it'll be out, like they tier listed the games, or like as a community, or they have the interviews with all the different contestants, and all that stuff's amazing.
Well, they've done interviews with contestants.
So they did interviews with the rising contestants. So
cool.
4 of the teams.
Cool. Okay.
4 of the teams. That was a really good thing, and I wish I could have been more involved, but I was still on my break, and I sort of didn't want to like not take my break.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was part of the Lime Llama sort of process of getting them to interview, so that was cool. Because I'm you know. Good friends with some of the Lime Llamas, so cool that they won. So we do different types of content. In terms of me, actually, you brought up a good point. In terms of the community, I actually think MCC's become less saturated. Yes, there's way more channels, but in terms of the actual videos being pumped out, because MCC is, and I don't mean this in any rude way possible, I love MCC from the bottom of my heart.
Not as popular anymore.
Yeah, not as popular.
I knew where that was going.
And there's varying reasons for that. Because of that, there's way less videos. So MCC, the show had a huge gap between making videos, and they've only recently come back. MCC... all things MCC. I always start MCC and then I forget it's all things MCC, so that's a constant issue for me. They have made so many like videos before, but now Callum doesn't do like the Reddit roundup or the they missed the top 10 plays for MCC 33 because they were both busy, and there's less people working on it. But that's a part of that is that it's less popular nowadays, unfortunately. But you know what? I still think they can turn it around. and it's such an important event to me. It literally means the world to me, MCC. So I'm excited to see. I like the live show is going to be awesome, and this Rising I think was huge for like popularizing MCC again. So I'm very excited to see what the future of MCC holds. And otherwise, I wouldn't do MCC Central. I just think MCC is always going to be such a huge part of the Minecraft community. And for example, with the whole of the Minecraft is in a dip right now, right? It's slightly a dip from 2-3 years ago when it was at its peak again. We're talking Dream SMP and Phils are dying in hardcore and everything to do with that. Techno versus Dream, that was like its huge spike since it released. It had a massive like lifespan after release. We had a dip and then it spiked again. We're in a tiny dip, but I'm excited to see after that dip MCC still be there and still be creating such amazing tournaments. And I'm super excited for that.
I have a fun statistic regarding MCC, which I think I've told you before, but I am going to save that because hinting at a future podcast here, when the week of the Saturday when MCC happens, we are going to be recording a midweek MC regarding MCC. That's going to be fun. I guess I'm
yes, I'm very excited.
That's going to be a fun little podcast. So we can go into more depth of waffling away talking about that, and I can share my fun statistic, which will be updated based on the new MCC. So you'll see what it is. For people listening who are still listening now, you'll find out about that. Because once again, I mean, I'd love to talk more about MCC, but it's more just getting to know you and then saving any podcasts for the MCC.
Yes, yeah.
Which I mean isn't me trying to tell you to shush because I asked and
no problem.
I guess one more thing then, CaptainAJX, because like I said, it's getting late and then you have other plans and I've kept you for a lot longer than I was meant to, so I deeply apologise for that.
No problem.
What is the future of CaptainAJX then? Obviously you got MCC Central, which another video idea I thought of, by the way, which would be a cool one, is what if MCC never existed? It'd be a fun one.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one. So, yeah, I'm definitely passing it on.
So yeah, I mean, if you ever need help with ideas, I got a good few. I just ain't doing it myself. And one thing is always, when I said about the whole documentary stuff, it wasn't really me referring to you. I was talking about MCC Central. So when you said, I don't have the voice for that, blah, 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 like, it wasn't only about you, because you're not the only one doing the channel anymore, you know? So I can
True.
give them suggestions. But yeah, so what is the future?
So this is kind of an official announcement because I haven't posted it publicly anywhere. I'm going to be doing rankings of films, televisions, characters, everything in between, basically just anything. I have the philosophy that you can rank anything as long as it's not being a huge arsehole about it. I think you can rank just anything out there. And the first video I'm hoping to do, and it might not end up being this way, is I'm going to rank all the Star Wars films, and that'll be my personal opinion as well, which will be crazy because I've not really done opinion pieces before. So I'm very excited for all of the future of AJX. I have a lot of ideas down the line. We're talking Mario Kart. I'm waiting for all the courses to come out, and then I'm going to do a Mario Kart ranking video. We're talking TV shows. Can't lie, kind of thinking about doing a Bluey video. We're talking not just Bluey, but all different types of TV shows. Gravity Falls is a big one for me. I want to do that. Just so much. The Blue Lock, I've thought about doing that because that's what The Strikers is based off of. I'm very excited for the future while still creating so much MCC content. And that's a lot of what my Twitch is now. A lot of that's going to be MCC content, different tournaments I'm in and so on. It's going to be huge.
I was meant to earlier, I think half an hour ago, I was meant to bring up MCC Showdown.
You mean Squad Builder Showdown.
Squad Builder Showdown. Yeah.
Team Builder Showdown, that's what it's called.
That's one, yeah, which I built an amazing MCC thing, but I know that wasn't a Showdown one. But I'm saying when you had me on as a guest to build teams, I think
I get what you mean. Yes.
No, I'm talking about Showdown, but I'm also talking about this as well.
Yes, yeah, that's something on my Twitch. It's every Tuesday. Everyone in my Discord can input a team. I think we're close to breaking a record for the most amount of people this week. But my Twitch just loved that. And that's a huge part of my content because they love that so much. And that comes from a video I did down the line, which I've mentioned before, where I got a bunch of YouTubers to do that. So I had like Wolfie on and Lockie and a bunch of other people. And they made MCC teams, and then you had to stay under. The rules are you have to stay under 10,000 average points altogether. So the whole team has to be below 10,000 points, and then you can't have the same player as anyone else. So it makes quite a good like game show each week, and then we sim an actual MCC with those teams. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to play in next Tuesday as well. I'll sign up with the team I have. I mean, how do you know not to go over the coins though? Do you like have the coins there, or?
We have a team builder sheet.
So I'll be able to know not to go over the coins.
If you hit up Aqua Dragon, he'll give you a sheet, and you can basically build a team. And it's 8,000 points nowadays, not 10,000.
Sorry, I mean 8,
we changed the rule for this season. Well, I said 10,000. Don't worry. Yeah, it's 8,000 points. You can't go above that amount of points based on the averages that each player has added together. So, for example, to get 10,000, you want a player with 2,500. You want 4 players with 2,500 points, or as close to as you can.
Is that not in the Google spreadsheet that is that not in the sign up sheet that you find where what people's coins averages are?
Yes, yeah. There's a whole team builder sheet that Aqua has made, and he has his incredible, like, he's literally inputted every single player. He has all their like game statistics as well, and some games obviously move over, but he has all their game statistics and everything about that, and it's just an incredible sheet. And there you can like build a team basically that equals 8,000 points. Yeah, he well, it's in our Discord, but you know,
okay,
if you want, if you want to find it easily, then you just like ask him and he'll send it you straight away.
Yeah, probably will.
Like it's not a like paid for thing. He just sends it to anyone that wants it.
Yeah, because when I build my team, I want to make sure I don't go over the coin thing.
Understandable. We have a few people do that, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to try hard. But I'll sign up. Hopefully I get in. If not, not really a big deal. But I've already built teams before I built an entire MCC, which I think I built some bloody amazing teams.
That was amazing. Yes.
Yes, very good. Team was always going to bloody win.
We do. The team builder showdown is just basically we do a wheel, and that decides the 10 people. And sometimes each week I have just about enough people. So like this week I had to ask Mighty to build a team because otherwise I wouldn't have had enough people. Whereas next week we already have 15 people signed up.
Peace. Okay.
So
that'll be fun.
So just week to week, it just depends on the popularity and how much people decide to sign up.
I guess.
I do a random wheel. I do a random wheel, and that takes up a lot of my Sunday. Hell yeah! Hopefully.
I guess with one more thing then before we wrap this podcast up. When you said about how you're going to be ranking shows and stuff like that, one thing I've always wanted to do, and once again it's because Jackmate's done it, is he at the end of the year ranked his favourite podcasts. However, InsideMC became an interview and guest podcast. I didn't really want to rank it because it would have kind of just been ranked based on guests. However, now we can rank at the end of the year, or I don't know, it depends on how many midweek MCs are uploaded by then, I can't remember. I actually haven't really done the numbers for it. We can essentially rank our favourite midweek MCs.
Oh, that would be nice. I like that idea.
So that'd be a fun one.
I love talking about stuff you've just made. Originally my second channel was just me talking about videos I just made. So that was...
Well, there you go then. You're literally the perfect co-host.
Exactly.
I guess with that being said then, we've been recording for about 90 minutes, and this was midweek MC is literally meant to be shorter, and this was not short. Who knows, maybe future I mean, once again, it just depends on, firstly, if any topics happen that like in the week, and secondly, just if not, then it just depends on the topic we choose to talk about. But with that being said, AJX, sorry this podcast has been a little bit scuffed. It hasn't been like a normal interviewing guest podcast, but that's because I'm not really interviewing a guest, I'm interviewing the co-host.
Exactly. Interviewing a friend.
Exactly.
Not that you're not friends with the other guests.
Well, I mean, I think it's just more different because those guests are only coming on once. You're going to be coming every week.
Exactly.
So we can get to know you more. I can ask questions paced out for future podcasts because I'm not limited. Just because obviously if this was a guest podcast, it would have been a lot more organised, a lot more planned, a lot better. But I didn't need to because I have next week to ask you a few more questions, and then a week after, just anything I think of.
Exactly.
This is just the
Perfection.
basis of getting to know AJX. And it also kind of sets the tone. I mean, like I said, it's a bit of a scuffed one, but it sets the tone that Midweek MC is going to essentially just be us having a conversation. It's going to be scuffed. It's just us sitting down and talking. So it sets the tone that this is going to be like a different format, which is nice. I needed this. I needed something a little bit different because I absolutely love the podcast. I don't know. I like the idea of just talking about topics in general, and this is what I'm finally getting to do with AJX. But yeah.
I mean,
Before we go then, AJX, if you'd like to promote yourself, all your platforms, I guess promote MCC Central on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all that kind of jazz.
so you can find me on YouTube at AJX. You can also find me on MCC Central, which is at MCC Central. You can also find me on Twitter, which is at CaptainAJX, which is also my Twitch. And finally, on my, if you want to watch a TikTok of mine, one or two, it's AJX_media. So yeah.
Let's go, W. Sorry again if there was a few things that you might have said and I kind of just brushed over it. Once again, it's just us having a conversation.
Exactly.
With that being said then, this has been the first Midweek MC. Once again, setting the tone in the best way possible, just having a little chat, getting to know the co-host. I hope you all like CaptainAJX because you're going to be listening to them waffling away with me every single week. And yeah. I mean, that's it really. Tune back in on Friday for the 4NT podcast and next Wednesday for Midweek MC. Once again, CaptainAJX may not be here every single week, and even I might not be here every single week. Midweek MC is just kind of talking about topics, so it's not really, I don't have to upload everything. I'm going to try to, but obviously, like next week, for example, I'm recording with the guests that have already been announced, Jack Cass. When this podcast is coming out on Wednesday, I've actually recorded yesterday, Tuesday, with Jack Cass, and then I'm recording today that this podcast is coming out with AJX. I'm doing back-to-back podcasts because I'm determined for it. But yes, thank you for being an amazing co-host, AJX. See you next week.
Can't wait.
This has been the Midweek MC Podcast, interviewing CaptainAJX. But starting next week, that outro will probably be along the lines of everything you need to know inside Minecraft, back to what it used to be. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Don't eat too much bread. Pieces.